Very good morning, everyone. One area in FR where many candidates tend to lose marks is answering the theoretical related questions, theoretical based questions in FR. So, to ensure you don't lose such marks if this kind of question comes, we're going to discuss one question. The question is practice question 6 from your Ind AS 16. Property, plant and equipment. So company A incurred rupees 20,000 as cost for restoring the site on which items of PPE was located. This item was used for manufacturing goods and the requirement for restoring will arise due to manufacturing of the goods. What will the treatment of this rupees 20,000 in the books of company A limited analyze on the basis of the provisions of relevant Ind AS? The question looks very simple, but let's quickly take a look at what is expected from you if this question comes in the exam. So if you see, first you should start with the relevant, as per relevant para of property, plant and equipment. It states that the cost of items of PPE will include the initial estimation of the cost of dismantling and removing the item and restoring the site on which it is located, and also the obligation for which an entity will incur when the item is acquired or as a consequence of having used the item during a particular period for purpose other than to produce inventories during the period. That is very very important. I repeat, other than to produce inventories during the period. Next, as per relevant paragraph in 16, it states that an entity applies Ind AS 2 to the cost of obligations. I repeat, stay along with me. So the point is, uh, as per relevant paragraph in 16 states that entity applies Ind AS 2 to the cost of obligation for dismantling, removing, and restoring the site on which item is located, so which are occurred during a particular period as a consequence of having used the item to produce inventories during the period. So the obligations for the cost in this case, the Ind AS 2 or Ind AS 16 should be recognized and measured as per Ind AS 37. So this kind of questions chance of coming in your MCQs as well. So as per which standard the following that specific cost should be measured, is this Ind AS 16 or Ind AS 2, Ind AS 37? So your option should be Ind AS 37. Next is also Ind AS 16 relevant para clarifies that decommissioning costs that meet the recognition criteria as per your Ind AS 37 for a provision are specifically added to the cost of items of PPE if such costs are not incurred through assets used to produce inventories. But the para 18, it specifically states that where costs are incurred through the assets used to produce inventories. I repeat, so first is they are added to the asset, but in second case, if the costs are incurred through the assets used to produce inventories, they are added to the cost of inventories. So in this case, where the obligation to restore the asset due to the use of the asset to produce inventories but not to assets installation, this is from year to year, it's very very important. This is the concluding aspect of this para for this particular question. So ends but not due to the assets installation, construction, acquisition, the cost are added to the cost of inventories. So as per this provision and also based on the above points, the cost of restoring the site of rupees 20,000 during the period, in this case, since they are not used to the produce assets but to produce the inventories in this specific period, so they should be added to the cost of inventories. So this is with regarding to your Ind AS 16 practice question. So the question looked very small, but lot of minute areas, minute points in day 16 was discussed, in days 2 was brought in as well, and also in days 37 lot of key terms were shared that is expected to be reproduced. So make full use of it, watch it at least 3 times, make note of all this terms, so that even if you invest 15 minutes, if this question comes, you'll not lose any mark. So best wishes, keep you all the very best.